guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about real life Men in Black. I know you're probably thinking like, what is she even talking about? Most people probably think of Men in Black and you think of the movie with like Will Smith and stuff, but there's actually some reasoning behind that movie. It's actually pretty terrifying and pretty scary, and I thought it would be a perfect video for Halloween coming up. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to subscribe, like, and let's get started. First of all, before we get started with this story, I want to let you know that instead of using the word government from now on, I'm going to use the word admin in replace of it, just because you know how YouTube gets these days, you know what I mean? So I just want you to be aware of that. The creepy real life Men in Black actually dates back to around 1947, and still to this day, they are known to intimidate in the form of retaliation the witnesses of UFOs and aliens and strange paranormal sightings and experiences and things like that. So basically what happens is they come to these people's houses that have claimed to see these unexplained sightings, and what they do is they appear unannounced. They're usually all completely in black business suit. They are expressionless. They have really pale, almost sick type of color. They also claim to have these outstanding credentials, you know, via the admin, if you know what I'm saying. Sometimes it's even said that they'll have glowing eyes or appear, you know, out of this world, or appear like demonic type of things like that. Well, nobody knows if these guys are admin agents, aliens in disguise, or intelligence admins that are trying to keep, you know, the UFOs and the aliens and things like that all like a big secret and to silence. So I'm going to read you some of these stories that are actually pretty terrifying, and these are people who have claimed to encounter. This traces back to July 27th, 1947, and this is the story of Harold Dahl, and this is kind of where it all began. So I'm just going to read this to you, and it says, as the story goes, Harold Dahl was on a conservation mission on the Puget Sound near the eastern shore of Washington's Maury Island, gathering logs when he saw 6 donut-shaped obstacles hovering about a half a mile above his boat. Before long, one of them nearly fell about 1,500 feet, followed by raining metallic debris, some of which hit Dahl's son, Charles, on his arm, as well as the family dog, who didn't survive the ordeal. That's so sad. Dahl was able to take some pictures of the aircraft with his camera, which he later showed to his supervisor, Fred Chrisman. A skeptical Chrisman went back to the scene to look for himself and saw a strange aircraft with his own eyes. That following morning, Dahl was visited by a man in an all-black suit. They end up at a local diner where the man was able to recount in extraordinary detail what Dahl had just experienced. Dahl was told not to speak of the incident. If he did, bad things would happen. The supposed events of Maury Island have continued to fuel theories to this day, even through a U.S. admin investigation. Here's another story following that as well, and it's called The Real MIB Agent Who Made a Coin Disappear as a Scare Tactic. Dr. Herbert Hopkins was working as a consultant on a UFO case in Maine. One evening, he received a phone call from someone purporting to be an activist in the UFO community, asking if he could visit Hopkins to discuss the case. Only minutes later, the man arrived. The man was wearing a black suit and a black tie and had very unusual facial expressions, with no hair, no eyebrows, an extremely pale figure. Hopkins' dogs began barking erratically the minute the man entered the home. After the bizarre visitor was finished questioning him about the UFO case, the visit got even stranger. Here's how it went according to the website The Night Sky. The man in black informed Hopkins that there were 2 coins in Hopkins' pocket, which was correct, and asked him to remove one. Hopkins complied and held the coin, a shiny new penny, in the palm of his hand. The men in black told Hopkins to watch the coin closely. After a few minutes, the coin took on a silvery appearance and then appeared to be going out of focus. It then began to fade and eventually disappeared altogether. The Men in Black informed Hopkins that the coin would never be seen on this plane again. He then inquired as to whether Hopkins was familiar with the alleged UFO abductee Barney Hill. Hopkins replied that he had heard of Hill, but was under the impression that he had died in the not too distant past. The Men in Black informed Hopkins that that was correct. Barney didn't have a heart, said the Men in Black, just like you no longer have a coin. It should be noted that Barney Hill actually died of cerebral hemorrhage. The Men in Black then gently suggested that Hopkins destroy any material that had been related to that UFO case. Hopkins, extremely shaken by the encounter, followed the advice of the man and burned all the files he had related to the case. While he had repeated phone troubles after, the phone company said his line had been tampered with. Maybe to tap it? He never saw the man. Another one is the doctor threatened by the Men in Black and told UFO research to stop. Dr. Albert K. Bender was a well-written and extremely intelligent researcher who founded the International Flying Saucer Bureau. In 1955, his research was about to yield serious fruit as he prepared to unveil a paper that would prove that the U.S. admin had, to one degree or another, covered up proof of UFOs. He planned to publish his findings in the Space Review. That was until he was visited by the Men in Black. Bender claims that 3 men dressed in all black visited him at his home and warned him against pursuing the topic of UFOs any further. The men left Bender scared for his life, and he immediately shut down all his research and the Flying Saucer Bureau. Many people who knew him claim that Bender was a changed man after this encounter. His later works were rambly and almost unreadable, and he seemed to live his life in constant anxiety and terror. He purported to still receive mysterious phone calls with nobody on the other end until the end of his life in 2002. That seems like yesterday. Another one is the Solway Firth spaceman photo invites a admin visit. Jim Templeton was shocked to discover this figure in the background of a photo of his daughter. The figure was not in the camera's view when he took the photo, and nobody had any idea where it came from. The film was verified as authentic by Kodak, and Templeton's story went public. Not long after, he was visited by 2 admin agents, and they were referred to themselves as number 9 and number 10. They demanded to see the site of the photo and questioned Templeton about the event. When Templeton told them he didn't see the figure personally, the men became angry and stormed out of the field, never to be seen again. Templeton was later contacted by 2 employees at the missile launch pad in Australia who claimed that they saw 2 figures that resembled the man in his daughter's photo on launch pad security footage. Apparently, the missiles at the site in Australia had been produced only 20 miles away from the field where Templeton took the photo. Another story is radio personality harassed by journalists for talking about UFOs. Danny Gordon was a radio personality who became interested in the flurry of Wythe County UFO sightings. Multiple people across the country claimed to have seen bizarre objects in the sky, and Gordon decided to investigate. Gordon became obsessed with getting photos of the objects, including one time where an entire school bus of students saw the UFOs flying over a shopping mall as Gordon took photos. Eventually, Gordon snapped a few photos at an extremely close range that allegedly verified they were not of this world. This story is actually very interesting, and I feel like I want to do a whole video just on this one alone. However, strange things had been happening to Gordon. He received a phone call from a man who claimed to be ex-military and warned him that his research could cost him everything and urged him to stop for his family's sake. Gordon was also interviewed by 2 men in black suits who came to work for a magazine publication. Not long after the interview, Gordon realized all his photos were missing. He contacted the magazine for information, and they claimed to never had heard of him, much less commissioned an article about him. Not long after, Gordon suffered a heart attack, and his doctor warned him that all his research and stress was jeopardizing his health. Gordon gave up the story and was never bothered again. Another story is UFO researchers harassed at home by real men in black. UFO researcher Jack Robinson and his wife Mary began to experience extremely strange events as they pursued more alien and UFO related research. They would come home to find their house rummaged and looked through and their UFO files disturbed. Mary also began to notice a strange man in black suit and hat staring up at their apartment from the doorway. Mary mentioned this activity to a friend who drove over and saw what she had been talking about for himself. The friend, Tim Green Beckley, snapped a photo of the man who was on the back of the most ironclad pieces of proof of the Men in Black. Another story, which is kind of crazy, is the actor Dan Aykroyd. I don't know how to say that, but it's Aykroyd. His show was shut down by the Men in Black. Dan has come forward with his story about how he was taping a show about the paranormal. He stepped out to take a phone call from Britney Spears, who was asking him to appear on Saturday Night Live with her, when he noticed a black Ford parked across the street. A tall man stepped out of the Ford and stared him down. He then turned away for a moment and then turned back to find that the man and the car had completely vanished. After he finished his phone call, he returned to the studio to learn that his show had been canceled and he was ordered to stop filming immediately. Some doubt his claim, but he says he knew what he saw and maintains that there was some kind of connection between these Men in Black and the end of his paranormal show. I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think it's real? Do you guys think it's kind of made up? I want to hear your guys' opinions. I hope you guys like this video. If you haven't, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you soon. Bye.